Now we come to a next stage, which is, well, what are the solutions? In that previous video, I suggested, quite lightly, raising the minimum wage, widening the earned income tax credit, strengthening unions, and so on. We could have a very large, long discussion about all kinds of ways of reducing inequality. This is a different level of challenge, because the universal basic income is something that is really not understood at all. Most people don't have any idea what it is. And those who do have some idea of what it is, many are preordained against it. They just think, well, government, this means government is going to have to do everything. Why would you ever want government to give people a basic income? So the goal here, and again, the learning, I hope you take, is not about making a video. It really is about argumentation. The goal here is to introduce a concept that is either foreign or antithetical to where most people may be, and to do it in such a way that is not threatening, and also in such a way that is not partisan. What you'll see here is that we went to great lengths to make this not only understandable, but also nonpartisan. You see this little gadget? Let's call it an I-everything. You can't get it yet, but if technology keeps moving as fast as it is now, the I-everything will be with us before you know it. A combination of intelligent computing, 3D manufacturing, big data crunching, and advanced biotechnology. This little machine will be able to do everything you want and give you everything you need. There's only one hitch. As the economy is now organized, no one will be able to buy it because there won't be any paying jobs left. You see, the I-everything will do everything. I'm exaggerating a bit in order to make a point about the trend we're already seeing. Even now, we're producing more and more with fewer and fewer people. Internet sales are on the way to replacing millions of retail workers. Diagnostic apps will be replacing hundreds of thousands of healthcare workers. Self-driving cars and trucks will replace 5 million drivers.
Where would you like to go?
Researchers estimate that almost half of all U.S. jobs are at risk of being automated in the next 2 decades. Now, this isn't necessarily bad. The economy we're heading toward could offer millions of people more free time to do what they want instead of what they have to do to earn a living. But to make this work, we'll have to figure out some way to recirculate the money from the relatively few people who do very well in the economy of the I-everything to the rest of us who will want to buy the I-everythings. One possible answer, a universal basic income, possibly financed out of the profits going to labor replacing innovations. The idea of a universal basic income historically has had support from people on both the left and the right. In the 1970s, President Nixon proposed a similar concept for the United States, and it even passed the House of Representatives.
I therefore propose that we abolish the present welfare system, and a basic federal minimum would be provided.
The idea is getting some traction again. Some think it could be superior to welfare or other kinds of public assistance because a universal basic income doesn't tell people what to spend the assistance on, and everyone qualifies. In recent years, evidence has shown that giving people cash as a way to address poverty actually works. In study after study, people don't stop working and they don't drink it away. They actually use it to increase their earnings. Interest in a basic income is surging, with governments debating it from Finland to Canada to Namibia. The charity Give Directly is about to launch a basic income pilot in Kenya, providing an income for more than 10 years to some of the poorest and most vulnerable families on the planet, and then rigorously evaluate the results. As new technologies replace work, the question for the future is how best to provide economic security for all. A universal basic income could be an answer. So here again, I hope you're extrapolating. The goal is not to make you filmmakers. The goal is to kind of talk about methodologies with regard to argumentation. And the takeaways here are 5. Number 1, beginning with their concerns, people who are on the other side of Europe. And one example, for example, is economic growth. The second is to use graphics. And I have found that timelines are very helpful because they show trends. And trends are very important to people. I mean, they see what the future is likely to be. Number 3, inductive logic. That is, instead of banging somebody over the head with the argument, you actually introduce the argument from, isn't this interesting? And isn't this curious? And by the way, did you notice? And how do you explain? And you actually have a discussion that is therefore not very threatening. And then 4, deductive logic, which is, well, if you accept A, then B follows, which almost inevitably leads to C, doesn't it? All the while listening to them. They may have very different ideas about A, B, and C, and D, but at least there is an attempt to follow a deductive logical pattern. And finally, number 5, framing the solutions, as we try to do with that universal basic income. Framing it in a way that is, in that sense, nonpartisan, historical. It's not really as wildly radical as it seems. It's something that actually some sensible people have thought about for a long time.